I'm gonna try to make this audio as small as possible and short but sweet. But I think sometimes we really don't know what side of the bridge that we're on because of what we do in our own personal life. And what I mean about the side of the bridge is, I'm gonna make it simple for you. And I calculated properly on how to put this lesson together for you. As you know, this is Leon C, aka Morpheus. This is the Academy of Wow Men. Yes, it's the upgrade version of my original audio, and it just gets better. So I summed up a lot of this in a story. And this story, I'm gonna let you know now, is not about racism. It's not. It's not about white people or black people or anything based on the past, but it's a story that is relative to what we are dealing with now with the decline of quality, loyalty to each other, and common sense. Because it all makes sense when you listen to how I bring this to you. It should make some sense to you. In this story, there was a group of 10 men. And these 10 men were millionaires. And each of them had their own share. They had their own prospects. They had their own assets. And in their mind, at the time, they wanted power and dominance. Let's just say over a small town. But this small town was, pretty full of people. Can't really call it a town. It looked more like a city than anything. And they learned how to buy up all the resources and buy up stock and invest in certain businesses and corporations and even malls as well, that eventually gave them even more money in return and gave them a bit more power. And the story goes on where they didn't stop at just this town. It grew to be a larger mass of land at the time, to where it transformed to be a state. And the state had a very unique name. It wasn't one of the largest states, but a very small state, where just about the top-notch businesses and corporations and resources would come through them. They were pretty much the boss of that area. Of course, you have your CEOs, you got your managers, you got so forth and so on. They were the owners. Okay. And they said, as they came together, they would always meet up every now and then at a coffee shop, anonymously, of course, and chaperoned by several guards and bodyguards and so forth. And they will always talk about plans to expand their empire to other places. And one of the guys decided that in order for them to expand, they have to have more people who are willing to be on their labor board, willing to work for them, willing to operate underneath their control. And most of the guys that were there, the 10 people, they knew that in order for these workers to remain servient to them, in order for them to remain underneath them and be happy just accepting crumbs for the table, just happy with the little money that they were getting from their tables, they have to remain under a certain umbrella of ignorance. So as the story goes on, they begin to come up with their plan as to how this was going to happen, and it had to be undercover. It had to be underneath a complete disguise. Okay? And so some of the guys who were there, the 10 people, did not agree with it. You know, I think over time, 2 or 3 of them at a time kept jumping off of the boat and just remaining happy with the money that they had. You know, the what do you call that? The real estate. The real estate, the funds, the goods, the money, their corporations, and their control that they had. To the point where, as time went on, there was only 3 individuals who was willing to be the most rotten apples out of the 10, who decided to come up with a grander scheme to continue to grow their empire and be invincible, in which they would buy up a lot of land, a lot of people, buy up a lot of resources. But in order for them to do that, of course, they had to initiate their plan of keeping their groups of people under control, under ignorance. And you got to remember, these people were millionaires when they started off. So as they begin to grow, they are even more bigger. No, these ain't people that you know of. I'm not telling you a dark story about any type of officials. I'm not speaking about government. This ain't politics. This is a story that I'm bringing to you. Whether you believe it to be real or not, that's up to you. All right. So these aren't specific people that I'm not going to talk about, at all. Okay. And so they became wealthy enough to burn money 3 times over. But with that, they had to make contracts and connections with other people who were considered to be their go-to persons. These go-to people created an infrastructure called a hierarchy and a power dynamic. I call it a power grid, where it starts from the master of them, or you could say the boss, the leader, the head. Then it dwindles all the way down to the footman, which is just this general worker who's willing to be satisfied working a 9-to-5 job every day. He's a blue collar. Whatever that he does, he's the bottom feeder versus the guy who's at the top. And his second-hand man is considered as, they could be a supervisor, they could be the boss themselves, or there are occasions where this individual can pretend to be the boss themselves and they're not, because the true owner, the true boss of that area wants to remain anonymous, unknown. So the game plan of this scheme, this idea, was to keep all the information, to keep all the power, which is information and knowledge, and understanding of the elements of science, of how money works, how you can build up your own infrastructure, how you can take care of yourself. The list goes on. I can talk about this all day. We don't need to talk about that. We're adults here. And so what would happen is you have a system where this person who's the second man has a little bit more information than everybody else. And as the tree goes down to this employee, this foot worker, less and less information is given to that next man. Whether it might be, supervisor, boss to manager to supervisor or organizer to HR to team leads. List goes on. To the ranking almost team leader, which may be a few people who want to be a supervisor, but they're just a senior employee who wants to be in the lead. So they'll do the work as to pretending as if they are someone special, but they're really not. You know, they're just someone who's in line to advance or to be promoted. But they don't have that much information. They are the less of the rest of them, and they don't have that much power. They don't have that much knowledge as to what's going on all the way up the top. And to go through the channels are and was and is purposely made, whereas the little guy cannot reach to the boss up top, even if they wanted to, unless the boss wants to make a connection or a change or make movements in that particular power dynamic. Okay? And it's done this way so that the channels can be obscured. That way the function can continue on unscathed. So his power structure will not be hindered by emotion, by opinion, by requests, by people who want to be bold enough to stand up for the people, whatever the case may be, to protect himself, to stay invincible. Because if it was information that was particularly neutral, all the way from the top down to the down to the foot worker, which is a 9-to-5 job worker, then the 9-to-5 worker will no longer want to work for that boss, because they're going to want to be their own boss and do their own thing, knowing the knowledge that they would receive. No one wants to be the lesser. No one in a lot of existence, or where you are, no one truly wants to be the backseat rider. No one truly wants to be the last line or the last Mohican, where they are completely out of the loop. The information is not given to them. They know nothing. And they played this game for a long time, where it worked out quite well over the years. And some organizations, some jobs, some corporations have took that idea and played along with it, because it was very successful. Because the blackening of information, the blackening of knowledge, the blackening of strength and availability will actually assure the bosses, or that boss, that he will constantly have a flow of workers, or you can say modern day slaves, who will do the dirty work and the tasks while he is traveling the world, boating on a yacht, eating fine foods, being free to do whatever that he wants to do, while others are doing the work for him. And as the story goes to this day, those three particular individuals have disappeared into the shadows, nameless, and their powers and their abilities to create such an infrastructure stayed the same. It was never removed. And many others who was power hungry and money hungry decided to come up with the same idea and do the same thing based on the leakage of information by the other 7 millionaires who decided to jump off of the boat. They didn't agree, but they still made a little bit of kickback by building other people's infrastructure and other people's, you can consider it to be recruitment or modern day slave recruitment onto their ships. Now, this story is according to what I'm getting ready to tell you right now. When I look at the world that we are in today in certain countries, if you go from country to country, you're going to get a different idea. You're going to get a different energy. And I will tell you this. I told you about, there was a recent audio I made about having a vampire. You have the vampire and you got the werewolf. And it is also said that there are certain elder or grown vampires that it only can be one to a city. It can only be one to a certain mile. They have to be very, very far from each other because of the, they don't want to be known. They have to be obscure. They have to be anonymous. So usually it's one vampire to a district, one vampire to a city, one vampire to a country, to a state. And this one vampire is the oldest vampire. They're pretty much unseen, sight unknown. But they control everything. They control the masses. They control the thinking. They control the idea. They control what's going in and out of that area or sector. You just don't see them. You just don't interact with them, but you interact with them through their pawns, through their minions, through the ones who want to do service for them only for $1, only to put bread, whether that bread might be fresh or not, on their table. And how this works and how these, let's just say these 3 guys who are quite successful have worked was through the mental manipulation of the human mind, which is you have drugs, you have pharmaceuticals, you have genetically modified food, you have terribly bad music, you have broken homes being promoted, you have broken families, you have a lackadaisical thinking, you have twisted court systems, you have inappropriate, ill-advised, but yet recommended anyway, mentally ill individuals who are given some sort of a placard or a badge or a position that they are not worthy of, because the whole plan is for them to be in that position so they can actually create chaos and distortion and continue to breed dysfunction and separation amongst the people, so they can constantly be weak, so they can constantly be mindless, so they can constantly be confused as to where the power really is, so they can never ever find their tail, so they can be the dog who's got peanut butter on its tail and running around in circles trying to nip at the peanut butter. And eventually, when the dog gets a hold of the peanut butter, the dog will accidentally bite its own tail, realizing that it bit its own tail. Then it begins to yelp. That's the plan. The ideal is never to realize that you've been played on to play yourself. So we're going to go deeper here, and I am your professor. And let me give you this red pill because I'm going to bridge that into the story. I know I said it already, but here you go. And as you hear, I'm going to go ahead and take mine. I know it's far into it, but we're getting ready to get deeper into this. See, what you don't realize is the broken home, the failure to love yourself, the ability to be lazy, that is lazy in the concern of your own health, your own mind, and to do the best for yourself, is going to do only one thing. It helps the infrastructure to remain strong. It's what you are doing is you are actually helping whoever is there with that power, with that control, to continue to have an influx of prepared labor that's going to be lackadaisical. They're going to have their struggles. People who have not gotten any sort of education properly or improperly. Children who are born in a broken home, who's only looking to provide for themselves because their mom can't provide for them. Those who are thrown out on the street for the sake of the drugs that they purchase, or whether it may be over the counter or under the counter, the drugs will still destroy that child's mind eventually. Bad behavior is promoted, and the insatiable, mindless dependency on computers, the influx of social media to use it not for business, but just to show off, to promote your body online, to try to be the best looking thing that every moron can lust after. Okay? The pressure of the time clock, the pressure of doing what others demand you to do based on mental propaganda, based on peer pressure, based on you're thinking that because 100,000 other people are doing it, that you can do it too mentality, monkey see, monkey do. The complete end result is what's going to be born from all this activity. See, while we are confused, purposely separated, mindless, ignorant, lack of self, lack of spiritual clarity. Did you hear what I said? Clarity. While we are being indoctrinated by a book and other people's gossip program and mythical perception, while we are struggling with trying to feed our kids a meal or two, and the whatever flu season comes around, okay? While you are worried about these things, while you are worried about paying your bills, providing for yourself, while you are looking over the sea, looking everywhere else on the general basis, we all are not looking at the very basic idea. And that idea is what helped these three guys in the story succeed. And again, I've said it once, I'll say it again. It is what is being produced from it all. What is being produced from it all is the next human being who is going to almost inevitably create a mistake, whereas they will be powerless enough to depend on the system, and the system being that of multiple agent Smiths that are there and waiting to use whatever is born from you as a means to make themselves powerful and greater. And usually on the often, what is born from us as a human race is a child, is a little girl and a little boy. When we fail, they will feel our failure, and how they feel it is that they will not be set up in the proper way. They will not be set up to be a leader or to be a boss of themselves. They'll be set up to be a pawn for someone else. They'll be set up to be a part of someone else's asset, to be a part of someone else's slave yard, to be a part of somebody else's infrastructure and idea of life. Whereas oftentimes, if you notice and you've been paying attention, oftentimes it is irreparable. Oftentimes they too make mistakes by barely even being 18, and they begin to create something from them as well, called a child. Now you have a child bearing another child, in which that is the name of the game. So therefore, the boss is assured that the grass field, and the cotton field will be constantly replenished with your help, with your participation. Every time you pick up a piece of drug, whatever it is, and you put it between your lips, you just helped the plantation. Anytime you drive without a license or insurance or without courtesy or concern, you just helped the plantation. Anytime you pick up a weapon to hurt somebody and put them in the ground without thinking first, without it being there is a form of self-defense, but oftentimes it's not self-defense. Most times it's just domestic ignorance. And here we go. Lack of information and self-control. Every time that happens, you just added someone to the plantation, to the cotton field, whether it is you or it is your offspring. Every time the mom or the dad leaves the house, you have eliminated the power and protection to prevent that child from going down that path one way or the other. And therefore, again, you provide a means for the cotton field, for the plantation. See, we don't understand because we are bickering and arguing and having dumb, retarded backwards thinking on matters that are completely irrelevant. We are too busy looking up in the sky for a sky daddy to save us, but we are not willing to save ourselves with the knowledge that we have. Every day when you wake up, you watch a zombie. Yes, a zombie. A zombie is, go back to one of my audios. I call these people a demo. If you don't know what a demo is, that means you have not been in this classroom of the wow men. And I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm going to leave it like that on purpose so you can figure out what a demo is. These people are demos. They're the ones who will drive wreck-fully. I don't say less, wreck-fully. They don't have the good sense to get up early in the morning, to have self-control, brush their teeth, eat their toast, and leave the house at a proper time. They want to drive above and beyond the careful level, knowing full well they have no skills, no driving concern, no compassion. They're the guys or the people who will drive without using their turn signal. They'll be right behind you, tailgate you right on your rear end, your bumper. They're the guys that won't yield to a semi-truck, which is on the road for a job. The road belongs to the semi-truck, by the way. The drivers who have to commute with products going back and forth. But yet this individual who is all about the struggle, that is their life struggles. Okay, when you don't have knowledge and you are ignorant of self, you struggle because you don't have knowledge to do it the right way. So it's hard for you. Like what you hear in cartoons. Some people, even some comedians might say it's hard for you to think. You know, what's wrong with you? Okay, you must be having a hard time to figure out simple things. So on the often you'll see a collision in the morning. You will see somebody flipped over in a single car crash in a ditch somewhere, or 2 or 3 car pile up. And you'll wonder, how is this possible when the vehicle only goes straight? You only got depending on where you are in your city, your town, your state. Oftentimes, it's not generally on roads that are curvy. It's on straight roads, on roads that people think that the way is clear. You wonder how in some communities, the mother, most times, and seldomly the father, will be nowhere in sight. But yet you have all these kids running in the parking lots. They'll run on the sidewalk, or you see one of them going to the store, no older than 12 years old. And no fatherly or motherly activity for this child. You wonder how when there's a sports event, depending on what the sports events are, the mom and the dad, usually it's the mom. I know this because I get around and I travel. Most times the mom is sitting there. The dad was there. He'd be active. Yes, the dad will be active. The percentage of the dad being active is more than the percentage of the mom being active. Don't tell me I'm lying. If you say I'm lying, then you've been living on a spaceship away from Earth and you haven't traveled the world enough. Don't come talk to Morpheus, because you will not win. And you'll see the kids active. They're out there doing the child thing, playing their ball, skating, basketball, whatever it is. And you will see this guardian, whether they may be mom, dad, sister, or person, just sitting there twirling their thumbs, sucking their finger, as if they don't know why they're there. They don't know why they brought the child outside. For what reason is a question mark on their head. And to them, it's just another day. To them, they'll sit down on the bleachers and the child lives their life, and the parent don't know why it exists. The parent doesn't understand why there are swings sitting there. Don't comprehend don't know that there is a connection between them and their child. They just feel like they're just babysitters. They raise children to just watch children with no interaction. We sit down on our couches and we watch political debates. We worry about what the presidents are doing. We worry about what's going on in White House, as we like to call it. We worry about what is the news telling us about other countries and the stock market and so forth and so on. But yet, while we sitting there on the couch, we are ignorant of the fact that we are sitting somewhere that really needs the matter itself, really needs our focus. Our focus should be where we're sitting at, not what we're looking at. Because if we realize that we're sitting down and we're not moving, when we realize that we are the one who has the baton in our hands, then things can change. But we're too busy sitting down, allowing everything else to entertain us. Just like the Matrix. What did Agent Smith do to his people? What happened? What did the guy who showed Neo that he was able to create a beautiful white woman with a red, I think it was a red dress. He said, look at this. Do you like this? And Neo turned to look. And there was a created graph of a woman walking right past him to entertain him, to distract him, to make him look away from reality, to make him fetter, lose his balance. And of course, the guy the engineer was just doing that for fun, just to let him know just how real the Matrix is. But a lot of us, we fall into the trap in real time, and we think it is all and everything, the end all and the be all, where we limit ourselves, where we go out and do what the church tell us to do. We go out because our grandparents, our outdated forms of morality and thinking tells us to do, when it doesn't line up to the current world today, right? And we get ourselves in a system. We lock ourselves down to contract. We put ourselves in a limited mindset, and we cap our movement. We cap our chances of evolving and advancing because we put ourselves in an indoctrination. We put ourselves in a limited ceiling, in a limited idea, in a limited way of functioning based on the contract itself. And some of those contracts amongst all contracts is called marriage. One of the biggest contracts that will actually sop you down and make you less than what you really can be. You can evolve, sure, but that's rare. You can be yourself, yes, but that's rare. It is a moving force for some people. That's fine, but that is rare. But on a general basis, higher than none, it's almost like playing Russian roulette. There's 10 shells and 10 holes in this revolver. All 8 cylinders are filled with something that's going to put you away forever. Will absorb your manhood, destroy your testosterone, make your life bitter, put you on bankruptcy, take your children away, ask you for alimony without your permission. And you only have 2 doors of escape. What is the livelihood that you will succeed that way? And all the while we are doing ourselves like this child is still growing older. Humanity is still moving on. There's still kids today being born today out of a broken home, from a donkey simp who was distracted by the beautiful girl in the red dress walking past, by traditional nonsense saying, well, because you have this child, you should get married to this woman. And he just jumps the broomstick and do it because his religion tells him so. All the while we forget about the major process that all we're doing is creating more people for the cotton field that will eventually be in the cotton field because of our lack of self and our abundance of ignorance. There is no excuse by this day and age while we are still on the rat wheel over and over again. I think about how big the court system is. I think about how big the correctional facilities are. I think about how big the hospitals are, where people of all races and all kinds of stupid activity put themselves in a jeopardized position to end up there in front of the doctor or the surgery bed and continue to feed the monster. I look at all the people who work their 9 to 5, sometimes 9 to 9, and the weekends. And all they want to do is be home with their children. All they want to do is live their life. All they want to do is have a little time to themselves. All they want to do is make money to provide a means to succeed and survive. But because the infrastructure when they was a child wasn't made for them, because when they were 2 years old, mommy and daddy was busy bickering with each other. Mom said, I don't need a man. I don't need you. I can do it by myself. With the support of her women groups, her hive mind, and her hypergamy. And all the while, this child is neglected. While you're thinking that putting a brand new pair of shoes on the little boy or girl and giving them the most expensive, lavishing clothes and the most furnished bedroom, the most available foods and education that education can provide in whatever school that you go to, private or public, that is all that the child needs, and they're going to grow up just fine. They're going to be just well. But then you still got to ask yourself the question, then why are we still dealing with the same issues that we've dealt with back in 1980, 1970, 1960? Why is there still domestic violence? Why is there still brutality? Why is these systems still flourishing? Because we are focusing on other things. We're not focusing on what's happening. See, because if you don't produce, that's okay. You know what happens to the system, or what Agent Smith would do? He said, that's fine. Because you may not have to produce, but there is plenty others that will produce. See, it's always a percentage where you may be a part of the 20% of people who probably got a really good idea. A really good idea. But the 80% of them don't understand what Morpheus teaches. Don't understand what I am saying. Don't get the fact that what they do feeds the rat. Every drop of failure is going to be used as an asset to maintain the structure of power to make you powerless. And each crumb, each failure that is produced from us is another chink, another pillar, and another power against our children's future. See, it's a shame that you may think, or others may think, that you are on Gilligan's Island and it's just you and your family. You'll sit there, go home, watch politics. You all fine, drink a glass of wine, put your legs on the table, and you okay. And then you'll keep your separate mindset, your separate idea. It's all about you. You got your infrastructure and your little bitty money and your little bitty bank account, and you're doing just fine. But the rippling wave is an amazing thing. I'm going to tell you how it works. And I want you to tell me what you think. A lot of people are familiar with those crazy mass shootings, right? Y'all familiar with how years ago, probably wasn't too long ago, I'm saying years ago for the sake of this classroom, where there was always one person that wanted to release their contents of their magazine in a theater, or an individual who wanted to overly drink from being overly stressed from working overly too long on their job and overly pissed off, who wants to stop by at a Chick-fil-A or Burger King or McDonald's, wherever you are, and argue with a cashier. And they are already at the end of their rope as it is, and they want to jump in their car. And I'm not going to give you any ideas here, but it's happened before, and use their car as a vehicular weapon. And you think, well, you're just watching the news, have nothing to do with you, while you're in New York, Chicago, Washington D.C., wherever you think you are in your perfect bubble. You know, you Waldo, nobody can find you. But the more you are in your own circle, see, you'll say, okay, what can I do? What are you saying then, Morpheus? Oftentimes, we aren't active when people are telling you facts and truth to prevent an ugly future. Like my channel, for example, and I'm going to give you some more. And I told you this in another audio, that there was a time where when I first started this channel, I actually printed out about 100 pages of the links, description, everything, because no one knew anything about me. I had to build my channel from the ground up, see people face to face, and some people knew me just by being the professor that I am. No, I'm not a professor in real life. Of course not. No, I don't do it for a profession. This right here is my profession, what I'm doing now for you. And out of 56 copies that I brought with me one day, with a whole lot of so-called open-minded men who, like, you know, would shake your hand. Oh, okay, sure, I'll read it. Okay. Oh, I'll read it. Absolutely. Oh, I'll read it. Oh, cool. You got a book? Oh, I like the book. Oh, okay. I got connections to Amazon. I will go ahead and check it out. No. And how I know this is because, again, out of 56 supposedly open-minded men, which I was thinking men are logical, men got a head on their shoulder. You know, men can change this country around. Men have a good sense of putting mathematics together. At least I was hoping that would be, because I got an 80-20 rule. So I'm going to vouch for men first. You must know that. And of course, but everybody benefits as well. But only 6 of them paid attention. Just 6. Just 6 men out of 56. Now, I know how the marketing go because I'm an entrepreneur. I know that there's going to be some waste. You know, you're going to put some products out there and it's going to expire. I know that. I know to make money, you got to spend money and waste money while you're trying to make more money. I know that. But this isn't about money here. This is about the future and lives. I'm not the Shangri-La. Of course I'm not. And as I told you, I think if I didn't say it in the beginning, I'm going to say it now. I'm not the sharpest knife in the knife jar. I know that. I have my flaws, and nor am I the best, and nor am I ever going to put myself in that position where I'm bumping chests with any individual. That's why this is my academy. This is my classroom. I'm the professor, and I'm not here to judge or degrade anyone. But the very fact that these hardcore lessons and information that could be suitable for family, children, people, marriage, gets out very, very, very slow, only lets me know that we have a larger majority of humglum demos. Lackadaisical people who really just don't read. They don't read. They will sit, watch TV, go drink a beer, go back to the plantation, the cotton field, go right back home and do it all over again. And then when catastrophe hits, you know, when just for example, a crater hits the earth, you know, we're all surprised. You know, we're caught off guard and, you know, shocked that this thing have happened. But yet the information has been around us for the whole time. Like children being irate at the mall, getting out of control, right? Teenagers vandalizing businesses, right? 14-year-old boys. Well, actually, it was 13-year-old. I think it was somewhere in 2020s, somewhere around it was September. It was around September, I think. 13-year-old boy get in a vehicle and drive 100 miles per hour in their parents' car. You'll say, how did he get the car? Listen, how did he get the car? He didn't buy it. No, because that means because Morpheus is right. Because Morpheus is telling you that it is actually acceptable by our new way of superior thinking in the westernized civilization. Whereas we don't mind, here we go, producing the next offling from us, who is only going to be another part of our plantation that we accept and that we love so much. And the bad part about it is when our own children ends up hurt. If ever, for any legitimate reason, it may be for a good reason, an officer grabs a child and have to put the child in handcuffs. The child is unruly, destructive, dangerous to a degree, and have to get rough with the child just a little bit to put the child where the child needs to be at, which is probably in the back of the paddy wagon. We want to get mad. We want to protest. We want to yell. We want to yelp like monkeys, dogs, and zoo animals running down the street. But what are we doing for ourselves to prevent that from happening? What did I tell you in the story? It's called information. It's called knowledge. It's called knowledge. So it could have been prevented. It can all be stopped. It can all be hindered. You can see the idea of Earth. And I'm not even going to talk about history. I'm not going to talk about race or culture. I'm going to tell you about the Earth itself being for everyone, being provided for just about everybody who is here. Right? See, you got a people who want to take everything for themselves. You got a set mindset of the average individual who thinks that they're, what I say, on Gilligan's Island, that nothing can hurt them and never will. I want you to tell that to those who got caught up in the hurricanes and Katrina and the rest of them. I want you to talk about those who had to deal with floods and sinkholes in Florida, and the list goes on. I want you to talk about that with people who were traveling around the country, and a very angry person decided to land the plane unexpectedly and cancel their trip in the worst ways. I want you to talk to them about that. Now, I've asked them, but you can't, about how they felt about it. And they too probably thought like you that you are unique and excluded. Because as we are thinking that way and focusing on what the matrix is flashing before us, and we are ignorant to the circulation of what's really going on, nothing is going to change. Nothing's going to change. The basics that I will always promote in my academy of Wow Men is, yes, whether you like it or not, it's unity. It is a Barney type of thing. It is a Kumbaya type of thing you may be thinking. But we don't really have a choice. We don't really have a choice. Because while you are at your island, sometimes the plane can land on your island unexpectedly. People who've been in their homes can tell you that. They stole in their infrastructure. They robbed and pilfered and did all kind of atrocious things and ignored every other culture, every other race, every other person while they were sitting at home, probably drinking on a glass of coffee in their front room. And there's been plenty of times where airplanes decided to land right there. Or what about that story? Now, I know y'all thinking I'm being pessimistic, but I have to teach a lesson here on this audio. I know you remember that story where there was 3 homes. It was like it was a cul-de-sac or something like that, but it was 3 or 4 different homes. I can't quite remember what happened, what started it. But one, I think that there was a gas leak or something in one of the homes. I could be wrong, or I think maybe a vehicle ran into the home or something like that. And when that home caught on fire, the other 2 homes that were next to it caught on fire as well. You know, they too had to deal with that drama, you know, that struggle. You know, and I'm not going to go there with the CO situation, but how about the fact that everybody had to wear masks? Okay, even though you have nothing to do with it, probably clean and fine, but you was forced to wear it because why? Why? Just ask yourself that question for a minute. Why? If you are on your Gilligan's Island and you're so excluded from the struggles of the world. So therefore, that means whatever activity the next person does is going to affect you one way or the other. It will meet you somewhere in the middle. But when you get car insurance, when you protect yourself, when you are doing things to keep yourself in line and healthy, you in the gym, you're making preventative measures. You're making preventative choices to prevent it from happening. And here we go with the final Shangri-La here, the kicker, as I call it. And I want you to understand this, why I'm bringing it to you like that, and why it seems like I'm being pessimistic and very dark-minded in this time, because I care about children. That's why I do this, because I know when y'all come together, my kids are going to be just fine. If they're good, I'm good. Right now, they're not good. So, you know, Father Morpheus is angry. I'm very angry. The trick is, a lot of your infrastructures don't want you to ever be smart. Don't want you to come together. Don't want you to put the remote control down to your stupid TV. The Matrix don't want you not to be distracted to this lady with the beautiful red dress on. Why do you think some women love your attention so much? Why do you think that when you ignore them, they will come? Why do you think they dress to get your attention? And some of them don't know that they are being this wind-up doll. See, sometimes y'all think it's a spiritual thing. No, some of you religious people thinking that it's a God and a devil thing in the countries. You think that it's revelations and it's the end of the world. You don't know that there are masterminds behind the mastery. Like the vampire to every city sort of thing, you would never see the vampire. You would never know about this master old vampire like the underworld, who is controlling everything without even putting its hands on it. And you're calling this person a god, or you calling this person a devil, when at the end of the day, it is your ignorance that puts you in the situation that you're in. They say that a vampire could never come into your house unless you invite it. But you'll think it's just a vampire walking into your house, physically shaking your hand saying, "How are you doing today?" "Thank you. Do you have a cup of blood for me? That's all I can drink." How you welcome the vampire in is your ignorant lifestyle. With your lack of understanding that what you produce, someone else is going to be affected by it, and that person's going to be affected by it, because yes, we need businesses, of course. Yes, I'm not saying that we should shut business down. Don't do it. I'm not saying that we should not be productive in the country and create corporations and try to give people opportunities, because people need opportunities. Sadly, not everybody is going to have a fortunate lifestyle, because failures are going to be made by humans naturally. naturally. But in the percentage of this pie, how the vampire gets in is by having the full fluctuation again and flow like an open faucet, continuously pouring of those who have a lack of self. That's how you let the vampire in. By letting it into your family, by letting the ignorance, the lack of accountability, and destructive tendencies from other people get near your family or your children. What that means is it don't matter. I'm not talking about an adult. I'm not talking about a stalker. No. I'm talking about simple things like mental influence from a mother or a parent who loves that their children to sit there and watch junk on TV, watch Instagram, watch unnecessary things, and definitely watch them while they're having the boyfriend come in and out the house because she can't peer bond with somebody. She's 32. No dad, no intentions of having them because now she decided to work and do everything that she can do about herself. Nobody's there but the person that's going to end up there at 11 o'clock at night when the child's asleep. But the child won't be asleep. The child's listening. The child watches and the child knows, and the child will practice the same thing that the mom's doing. The child's going to do the same thing. And guess what? Your child will end up meeting your child one way or the other. Whether it might be in that private school or that college, and they will be undercover agent Smiths. You got to go back to one of my audios when I talk about this. I should have said that this audio is going to leave out a little bit of information, but it's going to be exclusive for those who have been following my lessons up until now. Undercover agent Smiths, just like the movie, who the conditions of life, most people, if you realize it or not, already have mental conditions. There are people who are not diagnosed that they have stressful jobs, they have a stressful life, they are frustrated with their marriage or relationship. Some of them don't have relationships because women want to be, women have dislodged themselves from men now. So there are still men who still require women. And so that frustration builds up. We are living in I'm sorry, some of you probably don't, y'all living in a different planet, I suppose. So I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to pretend as if y'all do know this, because I'm aware that there may be some who's just, I'm just going to listen to what Morpheus say, but he don't know what he's talking about. Not me in my house, not my country. I'm doing just fine. I'm doing just fine. But while you are doing just fine, robotic women are being created as I speak for men who will have no ability to peer bond with a woman, because a woman don't want to be a woman. She just wants to be a man. Sorry, I'm just being accurate with you. Get mad all you want to. That's just real life. That's just the way that it is. I didn't make it. If it was up to me, I'd tell God to do a recall and let's do this all over again. Okay? But it's not up to me. So all in all, we begin to continuously decline, and how we decline is that we create the next individual from us. That is from our family, from our kids, from our friendship, from our association with other people, instead of being the light like we were supposed to. I mean, in a town, you have 9 or 10 different churches before you even get to the grocery store. But yet you still have a rate that's over the charts of debauchery, bad behavior, domestic violence, mass shootings, the list goes on, by a people who don't love themselves. And you have the ministers and the so-called religious, unthinking people who will say it's because they lack respect and love of God. I'm going to tell you this, and I can tell you to your face, and I can have an easy debate with you by telling you it has nothing to do with the love of God. They have nothing to do with the worship of a God. Worshiping a God is the problem in generally, because you are still looking away from the source of the problem, which is yourself. And I can't tell you this enough till my face is purple and blue. You are God, and you are also the devil incarnate. You are the one doing this. Not some invincible species that you've never seen and you never will see. And nobody will witness that you've seen this person ever, especially after you are 6 feet underneath the ground. By that time, you have no story to tell but what you have left behind, not what you can experience and share with the living. Stop the jokes. The problem is we all go to the churches. We are all mentally indoctrinatedly religious, but we don't install the morality like we are supposed to through activity, only through words. Words don't mean spit. Words ain't going to put money on your table unless you are a comedian. That's fine. That's a different story. But what I mean by the movement of energy. Okay. Words is not going to make it happen. Action does. So when you are receiving whatever you think is right, whatever you think is good for mankind within your religious circle, it is your task now. Now you are responsible to share that. You don't share indoctrination. You share the positive results. I was at a meeting. Was it a meeting? No, I went out of town. And I was teaching a few people how to skate at the skating rink. And once I was done, they was able to skate a little bit on their own. I wanted to stretch my legs and do some skating myself. And there was this person who fell down really hard. They fell down on the skating rink floor. And this person was, let's see how old. They were about 28 grown male, actually. And when I went over there to help him and pick him up and, help him to his feet, he said, "Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you." Okay, fine. Go ahead. And he went on about his way and he fell down again. And I just so happened to be the one to pick him up again. Okay. And a lot of my other clients thought that he was a part, but he wasn't a part of our group. It's just somebody that just, fell down twice. And once he got up the second time, he said this, which is very interesting. He said, "Do you go to church?" I said, "No, I don't go to church." He said, "I'm surprising because I see a light in you." So you must be a man of God. You must be a man of God. You're just too kind. I don't see anybody like you. Everybody else, they just skate past. They ignore me. One guy almost ran my fingers over. The rest of them, they have no spirit. They're just skating like demos, zombies, just going with the flow. Like just skate forward. You don't have your arm. Music's playing and your face is just forward, like what a zombie would do, just going through the motion. Some of them's probably bored, just wanted to get out of the house, sort of thing. And I'm thinking, okay, you think I'm a man of God. What would make you say that? Besides his explanation, saying because I, helped him out and I'm one of the common, all of them. He said, "Well, just keep doing what you do because you're a kind person and I can see that you care about people." I'm thinking, okay, well, I'll just accept that as a compliment. But even with something as small as that, I didn't say anything about God. You don't have to sit there and say you are the minister from whoever. You don't have to stand there and quote scriptures from words you didn't write because you didn't write it. So you wrote it you reading it from something else. You read it from the Bible. And oftentimes a lot of people think that because they're quoting scriptures from the Bible, that it makes it a legitimate argument, which is no argument. I wish you would take the Bible and use that as your form of life confirmation. You will be a laughing stock by intelligent professors. You will make yourself look stupid and you'll be walking away holding your head in your hands if you ever did anything like that, because it don't stand up. Because it's not your words. It's not from you and it's not accurate. Okay. But all you can do in a situation is produce your own form of kindness and how you know you ought to take care of people and yourself. And what ends up happening is you are already becoming a vassal of life, moving things in the right direction. So I'm only saying this because it's amazing how you have 9 or 10 churches, major churches, $1 million churches around your towns or your country. And we are still dealing with a extremely high rate of divorce, an extremely high rate of single mothers, extremely high rate of STDs around our country that'll make you itch when you think about how many people are carrying something. But yet we are supposed to be somewhat close to God. It's a joke. And as a matter of fact, that only tells us in real time, in reality, that we don't know what we're talking about. And it's nothing but smoke and myth. Drug-induced illusion. And here is your truest Shangri-La, because it's been programmed that way. Because you can be the 9-to-5 worker, for example, and as these 3 guys grew to be very strong, okay, the idea of it is you don't have the information. You can work as long as you want to. You'll do overtime sometimes. That's how deep it is, where you do overtime. And you think you're making the money that's going to really put you on the map and put your children in college, whatever you do. And you still don't realize you're working backwards. Because you're working overtime, but you're giving your time away to work that overtime, which you're working against yourself. Whereas he's making money off of money generating itself, sitting back in his office in his lounge chair, while you're out there breaking your back, not being able to see your own kids until the clock stops. Because that's what you on the clock. And then children are produced from that. So therefore, people will never, because the insurance program is that Agent Smiths will be around you everywhere in the form of your grandparents, unlearned parents, unlearned people, and those outside the world that say, yeah, you're supposed to work. You're supposed to get up, get a good job, be a good man, go to church, have kids, grow old, and die. That's your destiny. Oh, that sounds so boring. It sounds sick, and it sounds like you are already gone just by the very fact of them saying something like that. And then they say, well, if you're not working, you're not a man. You don't have to work in order to live your life and live to work. There's ways to generate money, ways to provide a means for yourself, and there's ways that the infrastructure can be a whole lot more at ease than what it is. But it's not going to be, because the whole plan is to constantly have people who will not change the scale. The idea is to have 100 million slaves who will not argue with the crumbs that are being thrown down the drain, or thrown at them, or the box of corn, or the cot that's given to them, or the little allottees that they want people that's not going to complain. They want a people who don't see themselves as anything greater than what they are. They want people like not you, but you who is in the back of the classroom with the F all the time. In my classroom, you shouldn't be here, and you never paid the intuition. So I don't even know why you are listening to my channel. You need to watch somebody else. You don't belong here because you're playing and you don't listen. They constantly want people who will never see themselves as greater than what other people tell them that they are going to be or that they should be. Mothers on a rampage will be the first one to degrade their own daughter. You say, how do you know this, Morpheus? Well, I'm a man and I've dated plenty of women who've had mothers. There you go. So you go chuck on that corn. And I will hear them say that, and I will hear the daughter themselves. There was a time where I took a woman out to drink a glass of wine. I'm a classy type of guy. And it wasn't a lot of wine, but wine have a ability to break the ice. And it helps a person loosen up. And I appreciate anyone who's honest. When they're honest, that she wins. She wins. Honesty wins for me. Not her trying to hide and pretend as if she's Superwoman or that she has no emotions. When she's being honest and she's displaying her emotions, her feelings, and her thoughts and her fears and her struggles, that lets me know she's feminine. That lets me know she's a lady, and I'm going to treat her like a lady. That only makes me the man that I am. So contrary, I'm just throwing that out there, contrary to what some women think, that displaying their emotions is a form of weakness and displaying how they really feel and trying to bottle everything on the inside. No, it only makes them a hidden firecracker. That's all it does. All that does when you're trying to hide your true feelings, your true thoughts, your true momentum, when somebody lights you up, you're going to explode. That's not the type of woman I want to be with. I want the type of woman who I know is not going to light up and blow up, where I can see that she's displaying everything. When she's displaying everything, then there's nothing hidden. I can work with that. But as she began to tell me about her relationship with her mom, she told me her mom told her that she would never be anything special, that she didn't have no talents, that she will always work for the rest of her life, that she won't find a husband or a good man anywhere. Pretty much degraded her. And she began to cry. And she told me and shared with me that over time, she felt like that was true. She began to overindulge in food, and she fell into depression. And of course, there wasn't a father figure around. Go figure. Look how evil the mom was. Of course, she's not going to be able to peer bond with the man. This is happening almost every day. This is actually normal, whether you know it or not, dear classmates. It's not natural. It's normalized and common. It's so common to where it's normal, but not natural. And I can understand her when she said that. And of course, she had to deal with that mental struggle for a long time to make herself better and to crawl out of it. But these are sort of the results that good men are going to have to deal with, or just people in general, from so-called caretakers or guardians and parents who have no vision that they are actually preparing their own child. It's not about going out there and actually being in a cornfield. Your life can be that way. Your life, the way you live life, you can be this. You're never the boss. That's the idea, where you are never going to be the CEO, where you're never going to be the one who's going to succeed and be successful, because your whole life has been an unsuccess by an unsuccessful foundation. See, smart people, they save up for their children. Smart people, they build a foundation for their kids. They save up money for them, and they give their children sort of chores and tasks to say, hey, if you do this, I will provide this for you. If you do well, I will have a car ready for you before you go to college. You're in high school. There's some kids who are driving to school. I know that you don't want to be catching a bus during that time, but if you do well, I will do that for you. But Agent Smith came along. Listen, you in the back of the classroom. If you get up again while I'm speaking, I'm going to take this chalk and I'm going to throw it so fast in the back of the classroom and hit you right between your 4 eyes. You going to think you met Jesus. You better stop jumping up in my classroom. The idea is the system is created purposely, where even if you have that mindset to say, okay, I'm going to do for my child, I'm going to make sure that the path is made that they don't have to struggle. Where there is Agent Smiths personally in your home, not only in your home, but they inspire your home by meeting people in your home, such as maybe your wife might meet another person who have a different agenda, who isn't a woman. She might be I ain't gonna talk about it, because this study is already brinking on the edge, and I don't want it to be ripped down from YouTube. Okay, the other woman is going to inspire your woman not to be a woman. and that she don't need you, and that it's well that everybody isn't going to be home to provide a means for your child. So therefore, your child will end up lingering. And the program is to keep you unsuccessful, to prevent you from being able to install a means of success for your child, one way or the other. And then, of course, if that's not enough, I already told you the environment will provide for it by what will Agent Smith do? Well, if I can't attack your home, if I can't make sure that you are mentally, spiritually, and financially weak, I have 1,000 other people that I can program, and eventually they will meet your child or you somewhere along the line. And they do. How is it done? Well, you hold it in your hand every day. You go to it every day when you sit there and you in the church and you're doing just fine. And they're telling you about something else that have nothing to do with where you are sitting at that you can be doing. There is a billion things I can be doing for the hour and a half. Most times it's longer than the hour, sitting down in a church pew, being mind washed and indoctrinated. I can be building something for my family or for myself, and definitely for my children. The program is for you to always have something, a hurdle to prevent you from taking the next stage to success. Because once you're there, there's going to be another hurdle. And you have what other Agent Smiths would tell you is this. They would say, yes, life has its obstacles. Here come another obstacle that you're going to have to face, because that's just the way life is. That's what Agent Smith wants you to believe when you're actually living in paradise now. Some people call it paradiso. Some people call it the world between heaven and hell, right? Some people call it, what do you call that? They call it a form of hell where we are needing to climb out of. That's what some people will tell you, but most of them are just Agent Smiths when they talk like that. I didn't say all, I said some. Some people just repeat what others tell them, and then they figure out over time that what was told to them wasn't true through discovering experience. When in fact, it don't have to be that way. Because you have to remember, Agent Smith is so smart. Or you can say in this story, the vampire is so smart. They know that you have a limited lifetime as a human being. And the more you produce a negative seed that's going to provide a means for the cotton field of his slaves, the less their life is. If you notice a person who has a wreckful lifestyle and they live dangerously, they're out there, they're on the streets, they don't live long. Agent Smith knows that. And those who have the potential to live long and they're not well off, their grandparents, their parents didn't fight hard enough for them. There wasn't a group of team members such as me, Neo, Trinity, and the rest of them go around and save people. Okay? Where you're doing it all by yourself and you're dodging bullets all the time. All the time you're dealing with the struggles that are trying to pull you down to the ground. You're dealing with groups of Agent Smiths that want to take your soul away, want to take your success, want to take your finances, want to take you down. Want to make sure that you are never free. Never free, because there is nothing in this world, nothing compares to being free to be you and to live your life as it's meant to be. When you're that person sitting in the yacht or sitting in in your own study, when you're this person who don't have to worry about the storm and the rain and the struggles, because you've made it over the bridge, you made it over to the other side. There's no greater feeling. There is no greater relief. There's no greater success that you can ever. Money cannot compare to that. Because there are many people who are trapped by money. They are trapped by their system. They are trapped by the responsibility that their money have put them in. Where they teach you, Agent Smith, that is, that go get another degree. Go spend another 5 years in college. Go spend another 5 years over here. Oh, this one's not working. So jump over here, spend another 5 years over here. So what you don't know, there's a game called, well, I don't know if I should bring that to you, but I will. Mortal Kombat. And in this Mortal Kombat, this one guy, his name is Sujinko. I think it's Mortal Kombat 3. I could be wrong. The outside of the case was silver, but Sujinko he started off as a young man. And his whole idea was to fight. I can't get what that man's name was. I think it was Shao Kahn. I can be wrong. He needed to fight Shao Kahn in a tournament. But in his journey, he kept meeting people that needed to train him. And each training session, he got older and older and older and older and older. At the end, when he was able to face Shao Kahn, he was like an old man. But all that time, he was actually working. He didn't know that what he was doing was actually making Shao Kahn stronger. And he flipped the script on himself, where he was doing things that actually only provided a means for Shao Kahn's victory. And when he realized what he'd done, it was too late. He was already old. So when you're dealing with your struggles in life and people are telling you, well, it's just the way that it is, and you're spending 5 years in it, 6 years in it, 10 years in it, 11 years in it. When you realize that when you finally get the chance to be on your bridge, when you finally get where you need to be at, by this time, you will generally see people who are old. They're old, washed up, retired. You're finally, you're 70 something years old, and now you're relaxed now. No, listen, you're not relaxed. You're washed up. Okay. Don't get angry. I'm talking about the majority. If you don't know what that is, you don't need to be in my classroom, and you need to be sent out as well. Okay, the moment before it even comes out of your mouth, I'm going to tell you to leave. And take your rusty book bag with you. Most times, people aren't relieved to live their life until they are old. And by then, you might as well forget about being able to do what you used to do when you was 22 years old. When 22 years old on up is the time where you need to be living your life, enjoying your time. But you are too programmed around those ages to make failures. And some people, again, Agent Smith would tell you that's the way life is supposed to be. Generally, we're going to make some mistakes. And yes, there's going to be some trial and error. But the reality of it is, most times it don't have to be a corrective end. What that means is, we don't have to make such failures that's going to hamper us for the rest of our lives or put us in the plantation where we're going to be struggling to dig ourselves out. Do you know how many people who jumped over the bridge and got married and settled down and thought they knew everything when they was 22? They get divorced, robbed, end up on child support for 2 children, 3 kids, and they finally digging themselves out of the hole. Their wife took them for everything. He was thrown in prison for domestic violence or something like that. Or he made mistakes and he's in prison because his parents were blue pill Agent Smiths and they didn't know it. Helping Agent Smith and the Master Vampire to create more slaves for the plantation. And so while he's in prison or while she's in prison, they'll figure out the truth then. They'll find out the information. And then you know what they will say? How come my parents never told me this? How come I was never taught this? How come I never heard this? Because you want to know why? Because what did I tell you? We're all sitting down talking about this is my island, not our island. But yet they're still on the same soil that you stand on, whether it might be billions of miles away or not. You see how that works? So whether you struggle or not with comprehending that what we do is going to affect the same person or it's going to affect someone else, we can't get over the reality, nor should we ever get over the reality that it is knowledge and understanding of the situation that's going to change the situation by action, not by words, not by indoctrination. And the action again, is being concerned about things that aren't being broadcast on often. This ain't blasted on social media, or, well, it is social media, but on mainstream television. When you look at mainstream television, what are y'all watching? Nonsense. Talking about dumb stuff. You know, if you're going to look at something, I can understand wanting to know if it's going to rain tomorrow, but everything else usually is senseless. We have, and again, this is not to judge anyone. Everybody have their own knack. Some people are just interested in it because they've been raised like that, or their parents are in it, or their grandparents are in it. So I'm not here to tell you that it's senseless or not based on your own preference. My own preference, I'd rather be doing something else and create my own infrastructure, because the idea is not to be down at the bottom, it's to be up there at the top where you are living your own life. Only vampires and parasites will create an infrastructure like that to make sure that there are failing people who's going to produce even more failing people who's going to stay underneath them and work outside in their cotton field. Where you can be the one to turn that around. If you don't want to be underneath somebody's boots, then it'd be better for you to climb up to the top and find a place where you can actually live your life. And definitely for the children, but unfortunately they don't. So when we find out the truth, when we find out our reality, when we finally reach our place and we get knowledge, usually we're too old now. Usually it's beyond the rim. Usually when it's all said and done, when we already made tremendous mistakes. Therefore, either we condone continuously helping the rat wheel, or we can prevent it by what we do on our own at home. There's too many people who live for themselves. Too many people who think, well, it's all about me. It's not all about anybody else. This is a selfish mentality where we march for the wrong things. We focus and we vote on the wrong things. We vote for the wrong reasons. And we look at the skin color based on what color this president is or where this president come from. But yet we are still living in a swamp. It's almost like telling somebody else to clean their room or their bedroom, and our room is a trash heap. And we aren't never going to move forward until we realize that the life that we are living in, or you could say function, is a system made to make you weak and powerless. If you use that as a complete basic, and you hold on tight to that, and when the reality hits you, you're going to see exactly what it means to be a producer and a non-producer. And how you produce is that which comes from you. And the simple things that we can start on is how our children are becoming lazy, how people are lazy, and this is drafted over to the machine. I seen a commercial not too long ago, and I'm getting ready to end this audio, but I seen a commercial, and this commercial had an app on the phone that was pretty much telling people of all kinds, whether you're a business owner or corporation or it's just for your personal home, that to calculate your time, that is according to a paycheck or something like that, whatever hours you do per week, instead of having loose paper and invoices that you have to calculate and put together, well, all you got to do is put your time in this little bitty app on your phone and be done with it. And you did your job. You're done. See, this is why geniuses aren't made anymore, because we are, see, this can go so many ways. I got to calm myself down. It can go in multiple directions. Laziness comes from a form of practice. And your body has a certain important potency to be able to calculate on its own, use a paper and pencil, Use your motor skills and your memory and stack the piece of paper up and do your calculation and be done with it. Because it's important for you to use your own thinking faculties. It's important for you to learn how to count money with your hands. It's important to do cursive handwriting. It's important to know your algorithms. It's important to even know history. It's important to get physical with your material world. It's important. It will do well for your mind and your spirit. These kids are disconnected because we are disconnecting them, and we buy into it. We buy into it because we get these products that make us stupid. It thinks for us. It calculates for us. And guess who buys it? Guess who's going to buy it? Whoever that person is at home talking about, I feel like this will work out well for my child. And there it is right in front of him or her. And here comes the next person picking cotton from the cotton field. Because when you use your thinking faculties, you don't have to be in the school setting. You don't have to be based on the school's arithmetic. When you get in contact with nature, when you get in contact with your instincts, when you get in contact with what is real, you're going to figure it out. That's how some slaves can waken up their senses. It's almost like a story where you got all these people outside picking cotton. Yes, black, white, Mexican, and Chinese picking cotton. And they're exhausted and they're tired. And what'll happen is the breeze will come and hit them and cool them down, cool the sweat. And they'll stop for 5 minutes just to deal with that breeze. And they'll be like, wait a minute, this feels good that I'm not doing anything. This feels great. Like, this is, wow, this is amazing. And then the master will come around, or the poacher, swap them or something, or push them down. What are you doing? Get to work. You're on the clock. You're going to be here the 9 to 5. You're going to do what I tell you to do. From Monday to Friday. If you don't like it, it's going to be Monday to Saturday. If that ain't good for you, then you're going to be working 7 days a week. And you ain't going to complain about it, because I'm going to make it to where you ain't going to complain about it. But eventually that person will be like, wait a minute. So it's wrong for me to sit here and enjoy the breeze that God have given? It's wrong for me to live my life? You're going to make me work to live? Sun up to sundown. They become aware. They become smarter. They begin to understand that, wait a minute, something's wrong. Why is he sitting down in the lounge chair and I'm out here laboring? And of course, sadly, there's too many people who they're happy to do that. They enjoy laboring. They enjoy that's just what men do. I work my fingers to the bone for myself and my family. That's just what I'm supposed to do. That's what we do, boss. And all the while, they keep giving you stuff in the form of presents that's actually poison, like Flowers in the Attic. Have y'all watched that movie before? Those kids was given cookies, but the little boy actually wanted the cookies more, and he got sick from it and died. But there were sweet cookies though, right? So you get these dumb phones and devices which are destroying your country. You get social media given to immature children who's eventually going to use it for destruction. And they do. Not only by what they say or they do, but by stripping down to the skimpies and showing the world. And you think that everything is okay. Everything is fine. You don't have to calculate with your own hands. You don't have to remember spelling and cursive handwriting. There's no need for you to put all the phone numbers in your brain and in your head and remember your street address and the address of your great-great-grandmother and her phone number. Just put it in this dumb phone and let it think for you. Just type your information in the car and tell Siri or tell this so-called self-driving computer to take me to the moon. Take me wherever you want to take me, machine. Because I can't take myself. I'm too inhuman to do that. I'm too much of a transhumanist to understand and respect my own nature. So I want to be disconnected from nature and continue to create the next dyskinetic robotic human who's going to produce the next disconnected robotic human. All the while we're sitting back in this generation, seeing it and like, oh, it's okay. I'll buy it in the stock market. Yeah, I will add that to my infrastructure in my folder. Yes. Robots. Yes. Computer chips. Absolutely. Yes. Dumb phones. Sure. Sign me up because it's going to do well for my pocket. It's going to do well for my money. Forget about my great grandchildren. Let them suffer from being in the computer world. I'm just going to live in this world right now. Don't worry about them. It don't matter. Just everything is automatic, push button. Let me just pick up the phone and order my food because I'm too lazy to jump in my truck and drive over there, which is only 15 minutes. I just don't want to exhaust myself by pulling open this heavy door because I'm scared of people. I'd rather for the computer to do everything for me. Just go ahead. Give me Uber Eats. That's fine. Just deliver it to me because I'm too lazy to walk out the door and interface with reality because this dumb phone is doing everything for me, which is only a reflection of myself because that's what I reduced and deduced myself down to willingly. And all the while we are marching down to a sloping, dilapidated, inferior human race, we are sitting back, sipping on our slave beer and thinking everything is okay. So you tell Morpheus as your professor how well things are going today. You tell me how things are looking. And the more you do nothing and you just, I'm going to buy into it. It's fine. Go ahead, bring on the autonomy of everything. And I'll be the human being who's underneath the control of computers and other master vampires over the computer and let my generation of children never have an opportunity to live anymore. Thanks to me. Go ahead. Pat yourself on the back. Praise yourself in the mirror and said, okay, God, you answered my prayers. And at the same time, say, devil, you are evil at the same time. This is Leon C., aka Morpheus. This lesson is over for today. Until next time.